Namaste. Thank you for joining me here today for this gentle Hatha yoga practice. Let's get started.
Welcome. Let's begin just lying on our mats this morning. If you want props, bolster under the knees or anything, then you're welcome to use them. If you are comfortable coming down and just kind of spreading out, maybe taking up a bit of a star shape, sliding the arms maybe further away as you wiggle the shoulders down and in toward one another, adjusting the head and neck to feel length. Adding something underneath the back of the head if that helps bring comfort and alignment through your spine, all the way to the back of the skull. And the heels, maybe just taking them out to the edges of the mat, letting the toes just drop in whatever which way they will as we ask our body to relax. And of course, if it doesn't feel good to extend the legs, then maybe the legs draping over a bolster, other props. Let's close through the eyes if it's available. Take a nice long, slow breath in through the nose. Extra little sip at the top if you can. And then let it go. Maybe just one feels good. Maybe you'd like to take a couple more on your own. Just resetting the breath. Beginning to bring awareness and that union to the mind, the body, and the breath. And giving ourselves, yourself, the opportunity to fully arrive. Begin to observe. Observing the comings and goings, whatever your senses become aware of. Perhaps there's thoughts, images, lists, or stories playing on the mind. So without trying to change anything, let's take a moment or so here just to observe, as though you're on the outside looking in. And then I invite you to very gently bring your awareness to the deepest center within you, wherever that is for you. Maybe it's at the heart, maybe it's at the solar plexus, maybe it's somewhere completely different. Maybe it's the center of the mind or at the third eye. Imagine drawing all of your awareness to an inner perspective. Still aware of the breath flowing organically. Any areas of tension just continuing to soften and relax. Checking in if there's any lingering tension through the jaw, the brow, the low back, the hips, the fingers, the toes, the shoulders. Feel your body completely weightless. And then let's just start to wiggle through our fingers here. Maybe rocking the head from side to side. Very slowly, maybe even moving with breath, the head at center as we inhale, using our exhale to let the head fall over to one side, heavy through the opposite shoulder, just bringing some movement into the head and neck now. Once you feel evened out, bringing the head back to center, let's start to slide the arms out to a T position. And then if available, just bend through the arms so the fingers come towards the front of the shoulders, maybe the upper chest, depending on the length of your arms. And just start to tap out around the heart, around the upper chest, around the tops of the shoulders. Just gently tapping in that area of the body. Still maintaining a full deep breath in and out, allowing it to feel organic. Maybe start to move down the ribs, around the upper abdomen, the sides of the body, the belly, the pelvis, and the hips. Maybe you're padding with the palms and the fingers. Maybe it's more just through the fingers, whatever feels good, experimenting. Good. And then bring those elbows back to a bend. Wrap the right hand around the left wrist, allowing your index, middle, ring, and pinky finger to find your pulse point. And then maybe just place the palm of the left hand at the heart. Just adjusting the right hand and fingers to find the strongest pulse that you can feel or sense, and maybe noticing the beat of the heart as well under the left palm. If the hands are in the opposite direction, that's perfectly fine. Get nice and relaxed through the eyes, the brow, the jaw. So just relaxing. If any tensions crept back in, relax the shoulders, even though we're holding the arms at the chest. Take a moment to set an intention for your practice today. Staying here a little longer if it calls to you, or slowly releasing the arms. Let's send them up overhead. Give ourselves a stretch. Maybe the arms, fingers, hands are just shoulder distance apart. Maybe you clasp the hands, release the index finger and thumb like Charlie's Angels, reaching the index fingers away from the crown, drawing the shoulders down though, so we're not hugging the ears to the shoulders. And then we'll bring the feet in together, maybe pointing through the toes or flexing through the heel. Maybe you're pausing and just grounding through the lumbar spine, feeling really anchored through the back body while we flex through the heels, reaching through the fingers. And then let's clasp all the fingers, flip the palms away from the crown, and point through the toes, reaching the palms and the toes in opposite direction. Just reaching away, ground back down through that lumbar spine as we point through the toes. Feel the quadricep muscles lengthen, the calves, a nice good stretch through the tops, the feet, and the ankles. And then release so the palms come back towards the crown of the head, maybe letting the fingers release from one another. Let's walk the heels to the bottom right corner of the mat. You could bend the elbows to take hands to opposite forearms or elbows, and then lift the thoracic spine shoulder blades up to release to the upper right corner of the mat. Taking a banana shape, maybe crossing the left ankle over the right. And if it's comfortable in the backs of the arms, rest with the hands to opposite elbows or forearms, maybe it feels good to open up that way, or maybe you slide the hands and arms away from one another until the backs of the arms can relax. Make that adjustment if needed to draw the shoulders away from the ears, and just notice where the head likes to rest here. Where is it most comfortable to relax through that head and the neck? Maybe taking some big deep breaths into the left side body and softening and finding ease. Good. On our next inhale, releasing any bind you have, making our way back to center. Pull that back body towards the mat gently as we reach and lengthen between sides. And then we'll begin to move over to the opposite side. So walking the heels to the bottom left. Maybe bending the elbows again to pick up the shoulders, arms, and head, and releasing to the upper left. Maybe crossing the right ankle over the left. Again, the arms might stay binded. Maybe it feels good. Maybe you soften the elbows out gently to the side, separating a little more. And again, maybe we can all find a little more space between the ears and the shoulders here. Notice which way the head wants to drop. And if you're squeezing through the right glute, try to relax that leg. Find a position, binding or not, where you can just relax heavy through the body. Taking some nice deep breaths into the right side as we create space here now. And softening in. Good. Let's take one more big inhale. Using our exhale to unbind, come back to center, lengthening back out on your next breath in, not too forcefully here. Ground down through the back body, flex through the heels like you're standing on the feet about hip distance apart. One more big breath in as we reach and lengthen. And then use that exhale to just soften into the body. Take a mini shavasana, allowing the body just to take its own shape and form. Of course, make adjustments if it feels better to do so. Just notice how you feel. If you feel a little more lengthened, a little more spacious, maybe you can take some fuller breaths even organically here as we've created a little more space around the chest, the ribs, belly, the diaphragm. Good, and then we'll take a bend into the knees, starting to plant the feet, draw the elbows down as we adjust through the back body. And let's start with our rocks of the knees from side to side. Experiment with the distance between the feet, the toes pointing towards the bottom edge of the mat, the heels planted under the knees, or maybe the heels to the width of the mat. And we'll just start to explore bringing some range of motion in through the spine, creating space through the hips, the psoas, and the pelvis. Maybe the head gets involved again and just really slowing it down. Encourage, if it feels okay, to stay close through the eyes or re-close through the eyes when you notice the eyes are open, and you don't need to keep them open for balance. For example, when we're on our mat here in a reclined position. Good, and then the next time the legs fall to the right, let the head drop to the left and just fully relax once again. The arms in any comfortable position. Focusing on our diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale, abdomen expands. And exhale as it deflates and softens. Good, nice and slow as we inhale, come back to center, realign, readjust. And as we exhale, feet the same distance apart, allowing the knees now to drop to the left, the chin to the right. Surrendering here. You can make adjustments if needed. Maybe drawing the shoulders back down, maybe tucking the chin slightly, softening in. Good. And after a full exhalation, we'll start to come back to center with the head followed by the knees. Maybe walk the heels closer to the glutes, pick the low back up and gently place it back down. We're just gonna reach for our block here, maybe one block. If you prefer something softer, you're welcome to use your bolster horizontally under the low back. We'll press into the feet to lift the hips and place the block at whatever height we want or prop underneath the tail and where the pockets of our jeans would be. So just taking a moment to relax the arms back down to the sides or out to the sides in a comfortable way. You might turn the big toes slightly in, the heels wider. Just experiment with allowing the legs to be relaxed if we can. Notice the body settling into the pose, maybe making any adjustments as needed. Good. Let's slowly draw one knee and then the other in towards the chest. Good. And then send the legs up towards the sky. A nice softness to the knees, to the ankles, to the toes. Let's maybe just rock from side to side if it feels okay with that prop underneath the low back. Just a very gentle sway from right to left. Good. Maybe starting to draw some figure 8 shapes now with the legs. Just very subtle, small, gentle movements, controlled. Reversing that. And then we'll come on back to stillness. Floating the arms up, grounding down through the shoulder blades, the wrists and the elbows also relaxed. And just, again, noticing those points of contact where your body feels supported by the stability of the earth beneath us. You might start to notice different sensations of coolness meeting the fingers and the toes as the blood begins to draw back towards the heart. Good. Let's just take a couple more rounds of breath here, maybe starting to roll out now through the wrists and the ankles. Any direction you want to begin with, maybe all in the same, or maybe all just kind of moving in their own way. And then reversing whatever direction you've taken. Good. Now relax the wrists and the ankles, just noticing sensation as it lingers there. Let's begin to draw a bend to the knees. And cup the hands around the right shin as you slowly lower the left foot down. So nice and controlled. Good. We can heel toe the left leg away if it feels good, but the toes still point down and the knees still gently drawn up if it's bent. Let's exhale, draw the right knee in towards the abdomen. Inhale, just gently releasing that grip and just these slow sensations now. As you draw the right thigh in, you might notice a little more length coming into the left hip flexor psoas there. And adjust that block if it's uncomfortable, or you can place something soft if it's a little too rough. If it's just in the right place, sometimes it just feels like a nice little massage in that area of the body. Good. And then just find the hands comfortably binded. If it's not comfortable to reach the front of the leg, you can also take the hands behind the knee. We're going to start to engage through the left leg, sending it longer down the mat, but the knee still soft. We're going to squeeze the left glute and pick the left heel away from the mat. So the left leg is completely floating if available. And we're going to start with our little pulses up and down. So you'll know quickly we need to stay engaged through that left leg. You'll feel the quad active, maybe the glute. It just doesn't have to be big movements here. We're just going to work on the low back and psoas muscles here today. You might notice that leg getting a little wobbly, so just slowing it down, trying to smooth any jaggedness out, keeping your breath rhythmic, or maybe even coordinating your breath with your movements. Good, and let's just hover, pausing. Start to draw the left heel slightly out to the left, still flexing through the heel, softness to the knee, and we'll continue with those pulses. Rest if you need to rest. Nice and controlled. Relax the shoulders, the jaw, and the brow. Good. And then find stillness. You can rest the heel down or keep it hovered. Big breath in and out. And then back to the middle. And then cross the left leg slightly to the right. And continue with those pulses, about 5 or 6 slow movements. Again, we'll pause, keeping the leg elevated. And then bring it back to extend from the hip. Nice and slow, draw a bend to that left knee. Take the hands, shift them over to the left side. Of course, make adjustments along the way. Good. And then we'll slowly, slowly, slowly lower the right foot down. Okay, so just keeping that bend in the the right knee. And let's just start with those little squeezes and releases through the left thigh. So the right foot can be planted, just relaxing through the right leg before we begin to work on that side, and just notice that relief or gentle sensations through the left hip, thigh, and psoas. And then relax through the arms, slowly wiggle or heel toe the right leg away until you can flex through the heel. Again, the knee can be as bent as needed. You don't have to fully extend the leg. And usually we don't want to hyperextend through the joints. So the left ankle now is relaxed. You might still feel sensation through the left hip. I certainly do. And squeeze that right glute so we're not using the back to lift through the right heel and leg now. Good. We'll start with those little pulses, knowing we don't have to bring a lot of movement into the body to work the psoas or feel sensation. Keeping your breath rhythmic, controlling this movement, trying to stabilize as you might notice a little wiggle or shakiness. And then we'll pause before sending the right leg slightly out to the right and continuing with 5 or 6, maybe it's 4 or 8, depending on our movements and count. And then when you're ready, just pausing, staying engaged, or you can take that opportunity to rest if that's what your body needs. And then slowly cross to center and then over slightly to the left. And then we'll continue lifting and lowering, still flexing gently through the right heel with a micro bend in the knee. Good. Once you drop the heel, once again, with control, pause, and then bring that heel as an extension from the hip. Very slowly bring that right knee in and just squeeze both thighs in. Give a gentle little movement from side to side. Notice any shakiness and just take those deep breaths. Very slowly release one foot and then the other now to the mat. Nice and controlled. Good. Pause for a breath in and out, just feeling the back body sink heavy. And then we'll push into the feet to lift the hips. Slide the block out, just set it off to the side very slowly. If you haven't already, lower the back body down. Just massage out once again, maybe setting the arms up overhead and massaging out through the sacral area as we rock the knees once again. And just feel the gentle lengthening around the psoas, the top of the thigh where it meets the hip. Good. Let's come back to stillness. Bring the heels under the knees, ground through the left foot, pick up the right, flexing through the right heel and crossing it at the left thigh. Let's just rock the legs from side to side like this. Notice how you rock to the outer edge of the left foot, then the sole of the foot, maybe to the inner edge as the right knee drops to the right. So gradually finding a fuller range of motion, but maintaining grounding through the shoulder blades. Good. And then when the legs fall all the way over to the left, if you can, keep the figure four shape, keep the flexion through the right heel. And if it causes any pain, you don't want to stay there. If it causes too much discomfort, you can decide what you want to take on today, breathing through discomfort. If it doesn't ease up, then maybe listening to your body and uncrossing the legs, crossing them in a different way, maybe just stacking the knees. Let's bring those arms wide if it's comfortable, allowing the head just to drop to the right. So we're still flexed through the right heel, but we're allowing the outer leg just to fall towards the lower leg as we feel that nice stretch in our bodies. Good. After another exhalation, slowly bring the head back. Draw the legs back up. We'll uncross the right leg from the left. Take any movement or adjustments you'd like to between sides. And then we'll plant that right foot, flex through the left heel, cross it at the right thigh, and begin with our rocking. Maybe gradually finding your fuller range of motion. So maybe as we slow the breath down, we'll find a little more space and movement, mobility. And then gradually drawing the legs all the way to the right, maybe taking the gaze over the left. You decide if this is comfortable to hold, still flexing through the left heel, or maybe you just uncross the legs and stack them over one another. Maybe there's a different supine twist that you take into your body. Just a twist if you can, softening in, relaxing, arms in a comfortable position. And then releasing your next exhalation fully out before starting to slowly come back to center. Uncrossing the left leg from the right. Bring those feet back to hip distance apart. And let's come into happy baby before we come off our backs. Drawing the knees in just enough so we're not lifting the low back tail away from the mat. So separate the knees from one another. Maybe give that little rock from side to side. Again, a little extra massage. And then start to press the soles of the feet towards the sky, hooking the hands behind the knees, using your strap in some way. Fingers to toes, big toes that is, or to the outer edges of the feet. So lots of options, lots of variations. Once we have that bind again, just anchoring down through the low back. See if you can start to really relax the quadricep muscles, the shoulders, the arms, everything just with the force of gravity weighing down as our body releases just a little more. Slow your breath, lengthen it out. Two more rounds of breath, relaxing any areas of holding or tension. And then very slowly release the bind you have with control. Bring those legs back in together. And we'll drop the feet one at a time to the mat. Good. Let's shift the hips to one edge of the mat. We'll roll into a fetal position on the opposite side. Just taking a breath or two. We've been on our back for some time, so we don't want to rush up. We want to do so very mindfully. And when you are ready, gently pressing the upper hand into the mat, and we will come on up. Good. Let's come right over onto the hands and knees from here. It's just however you like to get there. Good. We're going to be moving into a plank pose. So starting with modified plank, make sure the fingers are clawing into the mat. We're not planting down through the knuckles at the base of the fingers. They're lifted there. The elbows are soft, and then we'll walk the knees back. As we walk the knees back, the tail might lift, but then we can focus on slanting the hips down. And we really want to engage that core. So pull the navel back and up. Lift the chest nice and strong across the shoulders without locking the elbows. Good. Make sure the chin is tucked, just drawing it back towards the throat, but the crown is an extension of the spine. Resting if needed, otherwise just activating the core. And you might even close the eyes or find that drishti between the palms or slightly forward. Nice controlled breath. Good. Option to curl through the right toes, the left, and press our way up into a high plank. We're not going to be holding much longer, but you can rest if needed. Still soft through the elbows. The space between the shoulders is active. The jaw is relaxed, and we're breathing easy. One more breath in. Exhale, lower one knee, flattening through the foot, then the other. Bring the knees maybe halfway wide to the width of the mat, and you can adjust along the way, but experiment with something a little different. Or walk the hands back just till the hips sink to the heels, and then walk the arms away, releasing our way into our Balasana, child's pose. Maybe you rock the ribs, the hips from side to side, allowing the ribs to just to fall in, maybe making contact to the inner thighs, depending on the shapes and sizes of our bodies. Notice where the body makes contact, where you are still holding tension. What adjustments can you make to really relax all areas of the body? Let's just take a couple deep breaths here. Good. One more full round of breath in and out. And if you're ready, bring those hands towards the top edge of the mat. Draw ourselves back up to table, bringing the knees under the hips. If down dog's not in your practice, you can work through any kind of cat-cow or movement from your kneeling table position, or curl the toes, sink slightly back, and then press up to make our way in that upside down V shape. Let's paddle out once we found our shape and maybe rock the head from side to side, focusing on the shoulders broadening away from one another as the head releases a little closer to the earth. Maybe there's a turn of the head from side to side. Just feeling the back of the body opening up. Landing in your downward dog with those nice soft knees, shoulders broad, space between ears and shoulders. And if it's helpful, bring the toes together to touch. We're going to move into our 3-limb dog, but we're going to do so very mindfully. So the knees are still bent, the tail's nice and high. And as we inhale, we'll float the right leg behind, not opening the right hip, not losing the alignment of the squareness of the hips or shoulders. Deep in the bend in the left knee as the right heel reaches further away. Good, so just feel that nice lengthening now through the back of the body. Take a nice big breath in. As we exhale, cross the right ankle behind the left. And we're going to walk our hands towards that back left corner of the mat or to the feet. If you feel too unbalanced like this, just uncross the legs so you're in a forward fold. Let's let the crown hang heavy. You can grab a block if it feels more supportive, or to fold all the way isn't serving you best. Otherwise, just little bits of movement, maybe gently twisting the knees nice and soft, regardless of what position the legs are in. Let's find stillness. Try to feel equally planted through both feet, deep in the bend in the knees. You can ragdoll or bring hands to hips. Again, you can uncross the legs first. We're going to come all the way up. Let's bring our hands to the hips once we're here. Good, relax your shoulders. Make sure you're not feeling lightheaded at all. And then we'll release those arms, pull the low belly in, reach them up. Clasp the fingers like we did from a reclined position, Charlie's Angels. Lengthen up, pulling the low belly in. As we exhale, we're going to lean to the left, opening up the right side of the body. Don't allow those hips to wiggle. They're nice and square. Good. Relax your shoulders. Maybe take the gaze up under the right arm if it's available. Let's inhale, come back to center. So we have to be really mindful to keep that balance. Well, I certainly do. Relax the shoulders at center. Inhale, lengthen up, pulling the low belly in. Maintain that contraction as we flow now to the right. Okay, so we don't want to be sticking our tail behind. We want to keep that pelvis neutral. And then if you're ready for more here, take the gaze up under the left arm. Good, let's come on back up. Release the arms, look up, and slowly float the arms down as we find a drishti point in front of us to help maintain our balance. Good, tuck the chin, soften the knees. You can uncross the legs first. We're going to roll back down, taking a whole new perspective to move into our downward dog. Once the hands connect, let's release the right leg back to 3-limb dog as we find our downward dog. And then lower the right foot down to meet the left and pedal out, rocking the head from side to side. Landing in your downward dog. Big breath in. Sigh any tension out. Ha. If you like bringing the big toes together first, do so here again. Notice the shoulders, the weight evenly distributed through both arms and shoulders. We don't want to lose that. The knees softer. And slowly inhale, not throwing the hips or shoulders out of alignment, not opening up through the left hip. Deepen the right knee and feel the heels draw away from one another. Draw the right hip slightly back if you feel misalignment. One more big breath in. Exhale, slowly lower the left foot to cross behind the right. And when you're ready, walk the hands back. Nice and soft through those knees. Taking your block if it's helpful, tenting the fingers if you don't like to bow the head all the way down. Come up to a more flat back with a deeper bend in the knees. Or if you're okay, drop the crown, give yourself a sway. We'll come on back to stillness. Find your breath. Find your feet planted. Uncross the legs if needed, and we'll slowly, slowly, slowly roll up. Our hands can come to hips first. Find that gaze coming up, and then you can focus once we arrive with the hands on the hips. With the hands on the hips, we can also bring that pelvis back to a neutral position if there's any misalignment there, and then float the arms slowly out and up. Clasping for our Charlie's Angels. Inhale, rise up, pull the low belly in. Exhale, lean to the right. Good. Maybe if you feel balanced here, you take the gaze up under the left arm. Just relax the shoulders down, making sure the left hip isn't swinging back. And our next inhale will come on up. Exhale again to soften the shoulders because we often need that reminder. And then we'll inhale, lengthen up, core engaged. Exhale, slowly, slowly and controlled. Lean to the left. Gaze can stay forward, or for more challenge, looking under the right arm. Good. Good. Inhale, come on back up. Arms looking up as we breathe in. Exhale, bringing the head back to center as we float the arms down. Just to even out on both sides, we'll then tuck the chin. You can uncross the legs first, and we'll roll down. Once the hands connect, walk them forward. Release the left leg, maybe to three-limb dog first, where we'll all meet in our downward dog and just paddle it out, giving the head a little rock. Good. We're going to be moving into our Malasana squat pose from here. So if you want to come out of your down dog, setting up your props, if you like to have blocks under the bottom, or maybe you start to walk the feet and hands together. So we're coming back into that forward fold, bringing the feet wide, heels in, toes turning out, maybe rocking from side to side as we start to lower our bottom down. So maybe you grab your props along the way if you like them. Maybe you don't usually use props in this pose. Maybe today you do and you don't normally. We're going to all be very different practice every time we come to our mats. Maybe you want to keep moving because staying still is not pleasant. And if it is pleasant and it does feel good to hold, it's a nice opening for the pelvis and hips. You can bring the hands together at the heart again with the props underneath. And if this is one you're really working on, opening up through the hips, if they don't like to externally rotate, it's hard to sit cross-legged, and it's something you want to improve on, I suggest this is one you practice regularly, coming up against the wall and setting the props up to meet you. That way you can really bring your back body up against the wall and find that nice opening through the front of the body. I want you to notice here, if you're holding the pose, if you tend to really squeeze through the glutes, and what happens if you soften the glutes. Can you relax the glutes? Can you roll the shoulders down and back just a little more and find that extra added length up through the crown? Checking in to make sure you're not clenching the jaw. Is the breath shallow? Can you lengthen it out? Good. Just a few more rounds of breath, but you can come out sooner if needed or stay longer if you like. One more big inhale. Use your exhale to drop the chin. Come out in your own way. You're going to follow along with me, just tucking through the chin. Maybe you rock a little from side to side again. We're going to eventually just land on our bottoms. So whatever it takes for you to come off your props, if you have them, or away from the wall, crossing through the legs. Setting up if you want something underneath. We're just rocking a little from side to side. Good. Roll those shoulders a few times, pulling your low belly in, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to start by sending the right palm out, flexing through the heel of the palm, the wrist just below the shoulder. Good. And adding that flexion through the base of the palm. We're going to float the left arm out and up, reaching the fingers towards the right ear. Big breath in. Exhale, guiding the left ear to the left shoulder, and really just relaxing the shoulders down. Now, we're not pulling on the head, so be very gentle there. Maybe experiment with tilting the chin up or tucking the chin slightly down, or maybe you just rock the head from side to side. And then find that place where you want the head to rest again, not forcing or pulling. And we're just going to draw some little circles through the right arm. Now make sure the whole body is not moving here. Just allow this movement to come from the shoulder and the arm. Nice and slow, and reverse. Good, and then pause, big breath in and out. Release the left arm, bring the head back to center as the left arm floats up, and then release that left arm down. Now flip the right palm forward, cross it over the chest, so over towards the left shoulder, and then take the left hand to the right shoulder and just let that arm come across. Good. So we're not rolling the shoulder forward, but we're using this bind to draw the upper arm across the chest. Good, and let's just release that down. Let the arms come to the hands, come to the legs, and just roll out a few times in each direction. Good, let's cross the legs in the opposite direction. Reground. And this time we'll send the left palm out to the left, a little bend in the elbow, shoulder down. Good, that low belly pulling in. And then we'll inhale, float the right arm out, wrapping it around the crown to reach fingers towards the ear, not to pull or push, just to gently guide the right ear to the right shoulder, and just be more aware of this area of the body. Maybe gently lifting the chin and dropping it towards the chest. Just noticing how little tiny micro adjustments can make a big difference in the sensation that we feel, or maybe just slight differences. And then find where you want the head to pause, where you feel the best stretch in your body. It doesn't necessarily mean the most intense. Well, it certainly probably doesn't. And then pressing through the heel of the left palm, we'll start with some little circles in one direction. And then reverse. We'll come to pause, still flexing through the heel of the palm. As we inhale, release the head, the right arm floats up. As we exhale, the right arm floats down. Turn the left palm forward, cross that arm across the chest, maybe reaching palm to opposite shoulder, and then take the right hand, not to the shoulder to pull it forward, but just to press the upper arm more towards the chest. Giving it a nice little gentle squeeze, taking a couple rounds of breath. And then slowly releasing that. We can bring the palms to the legs and just roll it through the shoulders, reversing. Good. And then let's send the legs long. Turn towards the bottom edge of the mat. You do need your bolster, but we're going to bring it horizontally behind us. We're going to bring our low back close to the bolster with the bend in the knees and just guide our way back. Making adjustments so your sit bones connect to the mat. And if it's too much for the back here, take a block, even if it's, again, a pair of socks, balled up, whatever you've got, take that and place it underneath the low back. Okay, you'll still get the opening in the upper chest, but it won't be so much through the low back. Or maybe at some point you add that block if it just starts to feel too intense. A folded blanket could also work. And just wiggle the legs from side to side so we really feel the sit bones grounded, not floating to something. Wiggle the shoulders down, setting the arms a little further away. Maybe the palms flip up. And you can maintain that bend in the knees, turning the big toes in, the heels out, or maybe gradually extending the leg. Soften down through the eyes, just making any adjustments through the head and neck to find length so the chin's not lifting and we're not compressing. Or adding flexion through the vertebrae of the neck. Again, relax all the muscles of the face. Let's focus on our diaphragmatic breathing here. Inhaling, abdomen expands. Exhaling, softens. Maybe after a few mindful diaphragmatic breaths, we draw our awareness to the ribs to soften a little more, to the spine and the shoulders, gently grounding down heavily over the bolster. Just aware of the heart space at the front of the body opening up. Maybe closing right down through the eyes and observing once again from that more inner perspective. Just noticing what arises for you here without expectation or judgment. Coming back to witness the breath, taking a more mindful approach now, just for these final rounds of breath here, to just lengthen them out a little longer, both the inhales and the exhales. Good. And then when you're feeling ready, let's just start by wiggling those fingers. Maybe adding in the toes or the ankles or the wrists. Drawing a bend into the knees if the legs are extended, turning the big toes slightly in, adjusting that low back. And then let's float the arms above the chest, wrapping the right arm under the left and just closing in through the shoulders, the chest. We'll inhale to float the arms back up, using our exhale to wrap the opposite arm over top or underneath. Good. And then inhale, float the arms all the way back up. Exhale, releasing them back down to the sides or maybe to the body. And we're just going to shift the hips to one side, maybe lifting to soften into a fetal position over the bolster. Maybe it feels good to stay here, and this is where you want to stay for Shavasana. Maybe you want to take a side lying position but support the lower body, sliding the bolster down and taking the top leg over the bolster to come down to the side to rest. Or if you like, on your back, evening things out and feeling grounded a little more, maybe you bring that bolster horizontally to drape the legs over. So just finding your resting pose for Shavasana now. And just adjusting, giving your body the opportunity to settle back in. And then settling in. And once you have, take a nice big breath in. Once again, at least one big tension relieving breath, filling up. And when you're ready, letting it go. Paying attention and being aware of all the surfaces of your body. Just noticing any sensation on your skin. Temperature, how your clothing feels. And then allowing that awareness to gently seep beneath the surface of your body. Gentle awareness resting here. Letting go. No matter where the mind is in this moment, slowly guiding it back to all the surfaces of your physical body. Maybe taking a few breaths just to start to bring movement back in. Maybe wiggling fingers and toes. Maybe lengthening out your breath. Whatever you need to prepare for movement. once again. Gradually, if you're not already on a side of the body, making your way over onto one side or the other. Not rushing, bringing yourself back up to a seated position. The light within me sees and honors the light within each of you. Namaste.
If you enjoyed today's practice, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future content. Thank you for your support.